Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I never really get into really speechless situations, but today's a pretty hard day. Erica Garner was a friend of mine. We actually were national surrogates on the Bernie Sanders campaign together. I marched with her, I organized with her around her father's death. I marched 250 miles from New York City to Washington, D.C. in honor of her father. And I want to read something to you that Erica said only 3 weeks ago. And I want people to know that Erica Garner is 27 years old and died of a heart attack. And she said 3 weeks ago, I'm struggling right now with the stress because this thing beats you down. The system beats you down. If we can have a young black 27-year-old mother die of a heart attack and of heartache by the amount of stress that this country, the systems, the environment around us puts us through, any of us in this room could be the next Erica Garner. So in order for us to protect the next Erica Garners, we have to understand what this Erica Garner went through at the hands of the very systems that are supposed to protect and serve us. I've had the best year of my life, my dear sisters and brothers. I've also had the worst year of my life. Nobody in this room wants to be me. I just want to make that very clear. And I think oftentimes in the Muslim community, we see the glam. You see Sister Linda Sarsour on the front cover of Glamour magazine, and you say, MashaAllah, you see Sister Linda leading the Women's March, the largest single-day protest in US history, and you say, MashaAllah. But what you don't see is what happens behind closed doors. And what I want you to know about me is that I'm a mother, and I have 3 children that I need to protect. And the work that I do is for them, because I will not sit back and allow a country to tell my children that they are not worthy, that they don't belong here, that they are not beautiful and have the potential to be whatever it is that they want to be. So when I wake up in the morning every day, my commitment is to fight for my own children. When I fight for mine, I fight for yours, and I fight for every marginalized child in these United States of America. I also do this work because I know I'm going to be asked one day, and all of you will be asked. I'm not the only one. And Allah is going to ask you. He's going to say, what did you do when black and brown people were being killed at the hands of law enforcement a mile away from your house? What did you say? Where did you go? How are you feeling? Allah is going to ask you when you live in a country that deports 1,000 immigrants per day, where were you? Where were you when that Ecuadorian mother was being stripped from her children? How did you feel? What did you do? Where did you go? When your prophet is being belittled and vilified, when your deen is being crucified, what did you do? Did you stand up for your religion, for your right to worship and practice freely in these United States of America? Where were you? What did you do? Did you not love me enough to stand up in a way that unapologetically continues the legacy of us being able to worship our Lord? And I think we all oftentimes forget that we come to these conferences and we sit in these spaces and we walk around being like, I wear hijab and I'm a Muslim. You think you just walked into the United States of America, or you was just born and then you could just walk around saying you're Muslim. Somebody sacrificed for you to sit in this room. You are sitting here in this room today because somebody sacrificed something so you could be Muslim in this country. The question is, what are you willing to sacrifice? And I'm talking to my immigrant sisters and brothers and those who are children of immigrants. I go to conferences and people start saying, gotta change the narrative about the Muslim community. What narrative are you trying to change? You are working in the frame that has been offered to you by the opposition. I don't have to change the frame about the Muslim community. I don't have to change a narrative. I just gotta own a narrative that already exists in this country. The question is, are you ready to own it? Are you ready to own a legacy of resilience and perseverance that goes back before this land was called the United States of America? Are you not proud of that? I'm a Muslim, and I was born a Muslim. And we call ourselves an ummah, right? We're all family, doesn't matter what race. We say that very shallowly in the community, that our religion is an anti-racist religion. Okay. So are you not proud to say that you could trace your lineage as a Muslim American back to enslaved Africans? Sisters and brothers, when I hear people talking about Islamophobia in 2017, This is what I say to you. I take you back to 25 to 30% of enslaved Africans who were forced to come here, who were Muslim. People who were stripped of their culture, of their families, of their land, of their resources. And they came in shackles. And when you think about what you're going through and what we're going through as a community, this is what gives me resilience. How is it that an African Muslim, an enslaved person, figured out how to be Muslim, how to still believe that there was God after all the torture that they endured, after watching their mothers and their wives being raped, after being separated from their families, after being treated like they were property and not actual human beings created by Allah? How is it that an enslaved person under the watch of a slave master still believed that they were Muslim and kept that spirit inside their heart so that you could sit here in this room today and be a Muslim? That's my story. That's your story. Are you ready to own that story? Are you ready to remember those who sacrificed before you so you can sit in this room? So when I say to people, let's be unapologetically Muslim, I'm not asking you. I'm telling you, you have to be unapologetically Muslim. You got no choice but to be unapologetically Muslim. You know, after this election, everybody was like outraged. Literally, like there was so much despair and outrage. I was outraged too, but I was outraged for another reason. I was outraged at the outrage. Literally. I was like, hold on a second. Everybody take a breath. Are you telling me that Donald Trump introduced racism to you? He introduced sexism and misogyny to you? Homophobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia? I said, where in the hell have you been? So I was outraged at the outrage, right, of the people who were outraged. I've been outraged. I feel like as a Palestinian also, I feel like I was born into a world of outrage. So we in the Muslim community are not woke. We got a couple of woke individuals, but we're really not woke. I remember the days when Mike Brown was shot in Ferguson. Sister Aisha. I defriended like 150 Muslims, literally in a matter of 3 days. Muslims who said, well, what did he do before he got shot? Yes. Sister Linda, he stole cigarillos from the store. I said, defriend. Some of y'all, I tore you up, but others I wasn't even trying. I said, what kind of Muslim justifies the murder of an unarmed boy? I don't care what he did before he got shot. Who are you as a Muslim to justify the killing of an unarmed boy? Why do I do this work? I'm trilingual. I could be doing a lot of things. I could work in corporate America. I could be doing international development. I really wanted to be a high school English teacher, if anybody ever cared. That's really what I wanted to do. I watched Michelle Pfeiffer, Dangerous Minds, and I was trying to be Michelle Pfeiffer. Like, that was my dream. I do this work first and foremost as a directly impacted person, as a New Yorker, and my dear mentor, like this woman, just seeing her gives me solace and hope. Sister Aisha Al-Adawiya, who's here in this room today, and I'm always so blessed and honored to even be on a stage and have her be in this room. We're New Yorkers, and 9/11 happened in New York City, and we watched our community suffer. Our community stripped and fathers stripped from their children. We watched law enforcement agencies who continue to terrorize the communities that we come from. So I chose to serve my people. And sisters and brothers, I got a lot of haters out there, but the majority of them, believe it or not, are from the Muslim community. From the Muslim community. And I always wonder why. I'm not perfect, sisters and brothers. I'm not a perfect person. None of us are perfect in this room. We make mistakes. We're all flawed human beings. But when we have sisters in our community who are standing on the front lines defending the rights of all of you and your families and communities, and we feel unsafe, and all the Muslim community got is to criticize our approaches to the work and how we do the work, shame on us as a Muslim community. Sister Aisha talked about the FOI. You know who protects me? Black Muslim men protect me. That's my security detail. When I walk around the streets of New York City, that's my security detail. The fact that we have a Muslim sister in our community that even needs security detail is something we should all be ashamed of. That's just my personal opinion. And I hold that. And when I read these words from Erica Garner just 3 weeks ago, I feel exactly what Erica Garner feels. I feel overwhelmed. And I say, where are my Muslim sisters and brothers? When I went to the Women's March, you think I have time to organize women's marches? I don't got time. I got kids, I got my own job. I got a full-time job. And Sister Aisha knows I got a full-time job and I organize other things. I didn't have time. But you know why I went to the Women's March? Why I accepted the invitation to be a co-chair of the Women's March? Because I knew if I wasn't at that table, you weren't going to be at that table. And when I was at that table, I didn't ask to be tokenized as a Muslim woman with hijab. I said, if I come to the table, my sisters come to the table. And when I went up to organize the Women's March on Washington, by the way, you know what my role was, sisters and brothers? I was the fundraiser. The Muslim woman was the fundraiser for the Women's March. Then I said to myself, let me ask myself a question. If I'm going to reintroduce to the American public the best and brightest that our community has to offer, who was I going to put up? I chose to put up majority black Muslim women from my community. Sister Maryam Ali, Sister Ilyasa Shabazz, Sister Aisha Prime, Sister Alia Sharif from Oakland, California, who, by the way, was the best performance. She surpassed Alicia Keys, in my opinion. Right. Yes. Sister Zahra Bilu, Sister Hina Naveed. I didn't take one spot. I said I need 7 slots, because that's how much my people are worth it. So our participation in this type of work is important. And sisters need to bring other sisters to the table. And I'm not talking to the sisters in particular. We have this tendency in the Muslim community when we see a sister moving on up in the world, instead of saying, MashaAllah, I make dua for this sister. This sister is sacrificing on behalf of us all. We say, why that sister? Oh, Sister Linda, she's light-skinned. That's why Sister Linda's up there. Oh, got that. Definitely got that one. Why Sister Linda? Or why Sister Dahlia? Or why Sister this? Or why? No, it's not why. It's MashaAllah. May Allah preserve her. May Allah guide her. May Allah continue to center her and make her intentions good. May Allah protect her and protect her family, because people have no idea the sacrifices that women in our community make. You know how many days and hours I have left my children behind? And you know why I know the work that I'm doing is right? Because I know Allah watches my children. My children are academically achieving. My children are doing what they need to do with really minimum supervision. And I believe that's all Allah. And that's why I continue on this path. But do you not believe that I think that my children got trauma? When my children have to read online that their mother is a monster, that their mother is connected to terror groups, that their mother did this and their mother said that, when their mother didn't say or do any of those things, do we understand the trauma of the children and the families that we come from, that have to endure not just what we see directly, but what they have to be exposed to? My children don't live in caves. My son is 19 years old. My daughter is 17 years old. My youngest is 13 years old. They're on social media too. I can't shelter my children from the hate that is out there in this world. So make dua for my children. Don't ask me why I'm doing this, or act like anybody knows the intention of Sister Asha or Sister Aisha or Sister Dahlia Fahmi or Sister Zahra. You don't know what our intentions are, because none of us have to do the work that we do. We do this because we love our community, we love our deen, and we believe that we are worthy and that all of you and your children and families deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. That's all I want. Sisters and brothers, we're living in a moment right now. And everybody here got to decide who you want to be in this moment. This administration ain't messing around with y'all. So if y'all will sleep under Obama and Bush, let's move on from that. I'm not going to take you back. I'm just going to move forward. This administration has done horrific things already. They haven't even been in office for a year. 800,000 young people, undocumented folks, are on the fear of deportation and by extension all of their families, some of whom are Muslim. Muslim ban 1, Muslim ban 2, Muslim ban 3, Muslim ban 4. Why is your family and the unity of your family important, but we all sleep when Somalis can't bring their families here, when they are denying mass visas of Yemenis in Djibouti? Where are you? Are you taking for granted that your children have a father, but those children can't have their father? What makes your child more worthy of having both their parents, but somebody else not having both their parents? You should be outraged. We should be out in the millions in this country demanding that our families be reunited with those that they love. Just like we love our families, those people love their families. Where is the Muslim community? Healthcare. How dare we as Muslims live in a country where people got to do GoFundMes so that they can have surgeries to save their lives? That people in this country die every day because they don't have basic treatment. That's an Islamic concept. That we just sit around and see suffering and injustice around us and we just move on because you know why? We cool. We got health care. My kids are all right, so that means if I'm all right, everybody. That's not how Islam works, actually. It's really not how it works. There's a lot of bad things that are happening around us. And what frustrates me and what gives me stress in the Muslim, I'm just going to keep it real because Sister Aisha got me all hyped. I'm like fired up right now. The Muslim community, I wish they take that passion that they put on scandals that we hear in the Muslim community. You know, there'll be a 587 comment thread on a scandal that is none of your damn business, first of all. But then I can't find those same people to talk about immigration or the deportations that are happening or a young black man or woman getting killed at the hands of law enforcement. Wallahi al-Azim, in the past few months, I sat in my room and cried at the state that our community is in these United States of America. Sometimes I'm ashamed to be from a Muslim community that spends all their time talking about Nu'man Ali Khan instead of talking about the suffering and the injustice that is happening in our community. It's none of your damn business what people do in their individual lives. Let Allah take care of them and let Allah be the judge. Your responsibility is to the divorced women in our community who can't feed their families. It's to the refugees that are in the community that need you and you to support them. Don't worry about everybody else. I'm ashamed, sisters and brothers, when I walk into a space and I look around and I see 1,000 people and I see 3 Muslims. You don't think people question us and our values and our principles? Where are we? When they watch us on Friday, 5,000 people in the masjid praying to Allah, but we can't find 5,000 Muslims to stand up against injustice? What kind of Islam is that? What kind of story are you telling people about us? I don't need people doing da'wah on the street corners. I need you on the front line standing up for racial justice and economic justice and access to health care for all people. That's what I need you to do. You know why our young people are running away from the masajid? Because they're in the communities, they're on college campus, they see so much suffering. They see so much pain and so much trauma. They go to the masjid and the imam's talking about something that got nothing to do with what's happening around. Our kids need relevance. They also are looking for courage. I'm going to end with this story, because this story tells a lot about where we are as a Muslim community. Sisters and brothers, I don't work for you as individuals. I don't work for MAS, I don't work for ICNA, I don't work for CARE, I don't even work for my own organization, even though I get paid by them. I work for God, because He is my boss, and I answer to Him. Let me give you an example of something that happened to me recently. I went to ICNA. Who went to ICNA here? I went to ICNA. I went to a luncheon. I spoke at a luncheon. I was the keynote. I stood up and said that a man asked our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, what is the best form of jihad or struggle? Has anybody ever heard that hadith before, or am I the first one to ever say it?
No, you're the first.
So I said that our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, said that the best form of jihad or struggle is a word of truth in front of a tyrannical ruler. That's what I said. Anything controversial about that, sisters and brothers? That's a hadith. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad said that. If you are ashamed or think what the beloved Prophet said is controversial, wrap it up, sisters and brothers. Wrap it up. You ain't a Muslim. That's just my personal opinion. So what happened to me, sisters and brothers, after that? I got attacked again by the son of the President of the United States of America. He said that I was calling for a holy war against the president. All the trolls came out. I got crucified. People wanted to massacre me. People wanted to hang me up in Washington, D.C. It was outrageous. And then Muslims, not all Muslims, some Muslims, I had a choice to make in the moment. I could have said, you know what, I could have used better words. Maybe I didn't have to use that word because, you know, some people don't understand it. But you know what I chose to do in that moment? I doubled down on that word. I doubled down on my right to be a full Muslim and to preach and practice my religion freely and not allow anybody to define how I practice my religion. But I had some Muslim leaders that called me to say this. Sister Linda, you gotta be careful. Can't be using words like that. Can't be doing this and that. So you know what? I came to the conclusion that women have to lead our community. That's the conclusion I came to. That women in our community have the foresight, the resilience, and the courage that we need in this moment. And that we come from a legacy of strong Muslim women from the days of our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him. Throughout hundreds of years till now, it has been women that have stood up courageously. And we are in a moment, my dear sisters, where I'm asking you that we need you right now on the front lines. We need your voices. We need your courage right now. Because as a mother, I will not tell my children that you can't be a full Muslim in this country because somebody else just doesn't understand who you are. It is not our job to change who we are because someone doesn't understand us. Our responsibility is to understand ourselves, to define ourselves, and never operate in a country that never wanted people like us in the first place unless we were going to be less than them. And the reason why people like me are existential threats to white supremacy in this country is because we're saying enough is enough. Not on our watch, not anymore, and we're willing to put our lives on the line. Malcolm X said this. He said, if you're not willing to die for freedom, take that word out of your mouth. That's what I tell my Muslim sisters and brothers. I'll end by saying, when you see a Muslim sister engaging in courageous acts in the Muslim community, I'm asking you to, I'm requesting that you make dua for her and her family and her spouse and her children and those that she has to sacrifice in order to defend and stand and represent all of us in the Muslim community. That you don't ask questions about intention because only Allah knows intentions. Don't ever think that you know what is in people's hearts. But I also want you to assume that those in our community, both men and women who are sacrificing the most, are those who need your support and love and du'as the most. And you know what? Those people oftentimes ain't never gonna ask for it. I don't ask people in the Muslim community for anything. I just don't. It's not how I operate. Because I expect my Muslim community to at least at the basic, at least make dua for me and my family, ask Allah to protect my family, to protect my children, to protect my heart. Because if we don't protect the hearts of those in our community doing this work, we're gonna have a lot of Erica Garners out there. Erica Garner was 27 years old with 2 children. She didn't die of a heart attack. She died of heartache. She died of a broken heart. And the last thing that we need is for our leaders to start dropping in this moment from a broken heart because we as a community have failed them. May Allah protect you and bless you all and protect our Muslim community in these United States.